In the very first mission of DMC Devil May Cry, something unexpected happens. A white wig lands on Dante's head. For a brief moment, he looks just like the Dante fans had known for years. He glances at the mirror, smokes, and says, "Not in a million years." It lasts only a few seconds, but that single scene became one of the most talked about moments in Devil May Cry history. Why? Because this wasn't just a joke to many fans, it felt like a message. More than a decade later, DMC is still one of the most divisive games Capcom has ever released. So, what actually happened? To understand the backlash, we need to go back to 2010. At the Tokyo Game Show, Capcom revealed that next Devil May Cry wouldn't be developed internally. Instead, it was handed over to Ninja Theory, the studio behind Heavenly Sword, Enslaved, Hellblade. So, the trailer dropped. Gone was the white haired, cocky demon hunter fans had grown up with. Instead, they saw a younger Dante with black hair, a cigarette, and an attitude that felt completely different. The internet exploded. Fans even gave him a nickname, Dante. But here's the thing, Capcom never wanted to make Devil May Cry 4, they just wanted a reboot. If the redesign upset fans, the interviews only made things worse. Comments from the developers about the original Dante being not cool anymore were taken personally by many longtime fans. Promotional material like the Brokeback Mountain parody didn't help either. Whether that was the intention or not, many players felt the reboot wasn't just trying to be different, it was trying to replace what they already loved. By the time DMC launched in 2013, the debate had already started long before anyone even picked up the controller.
His blood brother.
Sparta.
But Sparta betrayed him. He fell in love with an angel, Eva. The secret union between angel and demon was inconceivable. But it happened. And with it came new life. Twin boys. You and I.
But here's the part that often gets ignored. DMC's Dante was never meant to be the finished version. He was written as an origin story. At the beginning of the game, he's angry, reckless, isolated, and has spent his entire life surviving demons. He lives alone, he trusts no one, he has no idea who he really is. Throughout the story, he slowly changes. He learns about Sparta, discovers his purpose, awakens his powers. Even his appearance evolves until he finally earns the white hair fans recognize. You don't have to prefer this version of Dante, but when you judge him as an origin story instead of a replacement, he starts making a lot more sense. Story aside, DMC absolutely nailed one thing, the combat. Unlike previous games, DMC was designed to be more approachable without sacrificing style. Angel weapons, demon weapons, enemy variety, environmental movement. Every encounter constantly asks you to adapt. And that's what makes the gameplay so satisfying. Yes, the original release had problems, 30 frames per second, no lock on, color coded enemies. Those criticisms were completely fair, but underneath those issues was one of the smoothest combat systems in the franchise. The Definitive Edition later addressed many of those complaints, making the gameplay even stronger. Even people who dislike DMC usually agree on one thing, the presentation was incredible. Limbo wasn't just another level, it felt alive, buildings twisted, streets folded in on themselves, the environment constantly reacted to Dante's presence, boss fights like Bob Barbus remain some of the most visually creative moments in the entire series. So, love it or hate it, DMC had its own identity. Critically, DMC reviewed well. Commercially, the story was different. Capcom expected around 2 million copies. The forecast was later reduced. The game sold around 1 million copies in its first month, a respectable number, but not enough to convince Capcom that the reboot should continue. The series went quiet for years. Then came DevilMayCry 5. The OG timeline returned. Classic Dante was back, fans celebrated, but here's the interesting part: DMC never disappeared. Years later, people are still discussing it. Some defend it, others still dislike it, and that's exactly why this game remains so fascinating. It wasn't a failure, it wasn't universally loved, it became one of gaming's most debated reboots.
Hard to say. It's the only memory I have of it since we were kids.
So maybe the real question isn't whether DMC was a good Devil May Cry game. Maybe the better question is, was it ever trying to be one? Because whether you love it or hate it, more than a decade later, we are still talking about it. And maybe that's its greatest legacy.